You are watching SA Trending Updates. Please consider subscribing and hit that bell notification.
He was moved to isolation and we were taken through that process. You see, I speak on authority because of I was there. I'm able to detect, and whilst we were there, I was taking notes. I normally use my phone for taking notes. So, Mr. Ndondolo, it's unfortunate you did not bring him here. And we did ask him last week that would like G4S to bring Ndondolo here so that what we say here and what he would have said to us there, they're able to correlate. He makes mention, my colleagues are with me here, that 15th of April, Thabo Bester applied for isolation in fear of his life.
Apologies, Honourable Member. I thought that you mentioned that on 15th of April, Mr. Bester was moved to Broadway. So my apologies for that. You were referring to the date he applied to be moved.
Yes, he applied on the 15th, even pending even when you moved him to segregation. His papers were pending approval. He was not approved, but he was moved already. Okay. Why was he put in isolation whilst his papers were pending approval?
Okay.
Who authorized for that?
Okay, I will hand over to Mr. Beiderveld, who can give you all the information.
Honourable Member, I can possibly give a little bit of light on that. There was 2 times that Mr. Bester requested to be removed to Broadway segregation. The first time was on 15th of April, as mentioned by you correctly. But after 2 days, he cancelled his own safety application and went back to the unit. And then on the 30th, he applied again to go back to Broadway.
Was this planned? Because from a sense we got when we got there is that normally cell 35 is not being used because of it's in the blind spot. Cameras or the video footage do not cover. So in any case, we even did that walk. You can come into isolation, walk, take the stairs to cell 35, and the camera will not capture you because of it's in the blind spot. Even when you go out, only a person that knows that that is cell 35 will be able to identify it on the CCTV. Who authorized for him to be put in that blind spot? And why did an inmate that was in there removed for him to go in? Wouldn't it was possible for him to be allocated in a cell that was empty? Because already Ndondolo made an indication that there was an inmate in 35, meaning they took that inmate to another cell to put Thabo Bester. So there was an orchestration of a plan for him to escape.
Honourable Member, Mr. Beiderveld can answer your question, but I want to state that there was an inmate in cell 35 on the morning of the 2nd of May. That inmate applied to be sent back to the normal part, the multi-accommodation part of the prison. That inmate applied on that day, and according with his wishes, he was reallocated. That inmate was not moved to make to accommodate inmate Bester in that area or in that cell. That cell happened to become available on that day.
So you're saying the cell was empty when Bester was moved in?
An inmate was moved, to my knowledge, from that cell.
I'm saying, was the cell empty when Bester was moved in?
Yes.
So there was no one. The person that had applied to be moved was already moved?
Yes.
This contradicts what your officials were saying. A person was moved on the actual day that Bester was brought in. So what we are saying, it's a total contradiction, Chair.
No, it's not a contradiction, Honourable Member. The question was the cell empty when inmate Bester was moved into the cell? And I can confirm it is, because it's a single cell. Only one inmate can be housed there. What I added, Honourable Member, is that that morning, the person who was in that cell on the night of the 1st of May into the 2nd of May applied to be moved back, to be moved out of Broadway. That inmate was moved, and that made cell 35 temporarily vacant on the day of the 22nd.
The day that Bester was moved in?
Yes.
Coincidentally?
I cannot comment on the coincidence.
No, it's fine. Member. Chair, we equally find out that the server or the switchboard for cameras which you are able to tamper with, switch off and switch on. The report makes an indication from that 1939, the camera or CCTV footage ceased to operate, and they resumed operating at 4:10 in the morning. The incident started to happen at 2:30, subsequently to 2:59 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Was not captured because of the system was not working. Whilst we were there was an official from Integriton who operates your machines, was able to take us through that you are able to tamper with the system not to work. You are able to tamper with the system not to work. And in that sense, for the unit where Bester was in isolation and you can tamper with it, there is where that controller is there. And there was a person, when you read reports, that was asked by officials to switch off. From your view, from your point of view as G4S, after conducting the investigation, can you say that that system was tampered with for us to be able to lose 19:38 p.m. up until 4:10 early in the morning, for us not to have a footage at all?
Honourable Member, on that question, I can only indicate that we're not technology specialists. Therefore, we requested Integritron to give us a proper report. That's the people that's responsible for the system. And according to the report that they gave us, there was a power failure due to the batteries of the UPS system that was not functional properly. And if somebody that tampered with that, that they couldn't supply us with, so we had to work with a document that was submitted by the specialists on this.
Chair, there was an inmate that wrote a letter to the President and the Minister seeking audience on the event of the escape in detail. And we have an email coming from G4S officials that it makes an indication that that letter must not be entertained. In essence, no complaint must be entertained to official. Why was the letter of that inmate held? And this inmate, I don't want to mention the inmate's name. Why was it held, and where is the inmate?
Honourable Member, maybe I can respond to that question. If one reads on that email that was sent regarding this letter, the lady who has responded to that, she was redirecting that complaint to say, if that is the complaint, the inmate needs to use the prepaid envelope system to can send that complaint to the relevant party. She was not necessarily saying that letter must not go out. Thank you, Honourable Member.
Why didn't she reroute that letter, seeing that the inmate did not use those prescribed standards for him to send that letter? Because of that letter contains, it's someone who's willing to come forth with evidence that this is not suicide or anything, it's an escape. Why did we hold the letter? Because of whoever has seen that letter, obviously has read the contents. Why did we keep it?
Honourable Member, according to what we have learned regarding this letter, the letter had nothing to do with this matter of Bester. The content of the letter, according to the information we received, it was an inmate who was requesting to be provided with the footage of the use of planned force that was applied on him. And then that request was denied. But the sending of the letter was redirected to say, don't use the means that you are using, rather use your prepaid envelope, which will be administered at the Inmate Information System Office. That will then be sent to the relevant office.
When did you learn of the escape?
Honourable Member, you have 5 minutes.
When did you learn of the escape? When did you realize this was actually an escape?
Honourable Member, during the GIX meeting that I referred to on the 2nd of February of this year, GIX mentioned to us that they suspect that inmate Bester had escaped. And it's only in reading the SAPS papers prepared for purposes of this committee, dated the 4th of April, it's only in those papers that we saw that SAPS had, I believe on the 14th of January, my date might be wrong, but it was somewhere mid-January, opened a case of escape relating to inmate Bester.
Why are we not making sure that all the units are covered with CCTVs and video? Why did we leave the cell 35 in the blind spot and we left it at that, especially the cells at the back?
You're watching SA Trending Updates. Please consider subscribing and hit that bell notification.